We have to be very careful because the politicians that you see are professionals from different backgrounds. So I disagree when, the suggestion is that politicians should stay away. No. If we actually want a thorough investigation to be done and the outcome of that investigation implemented to protect lives and property, then all stakeholders who matter must be part of the process from the beginning. And the hard truths must be told to everyone involved.
Okay.
Those who were supposed to supervise, those who were supposed to put, in place the resources that will even enable the supervision should all be part of the process. And when he talks of education, I believe that education will also even become a product of the investigation, the implementation of the outcome of the investigation. Through the investigation, you will find out why, for example, people were attracted to the scene and how you can educate people not to be, moving towards disaster next time it occurs, even though you don't pray that it does happen. So the education itself will become a product of the, investigation process.
Okay.
Now, yes, I agree. I meant police escorts. But you see, then that is just to conclude on that.
Yeah.
The law says that there must be one at the back of the vehicle and one in front. It says one police escort.
You just say a police escort.
A police escort, yes. But by practice, I will think that you will need an escort either at the back, one at the back,
one in front.
And you see, investigations will help us even define the law better. The investigations will help us define the law better.
So
if you have a police escort...
What about what SEOP Kosiferi said? That procedures were followed.
Well, so you see, maybe in the absence of the
Although,
law,
I mean, Theo was talking about Reuters reports that even doubts.
In the absence of investigation,
yes,
the police can get away with just saying that an escort was involved. And perhaps the escort was in a taxi 4 cars away from the vehicle.
We understand this one. The escort was even in the cabin with the explosive driver.
Is that the proper...
In the cabin then?
In the cabin with the driver.
Is that the proper thing to do? That's why I'm saying that the investigation will establish what we mean by a police escort must follow the vehicle.
Yeah.
Since we are yet
so adding a police officer to sit like a driver's mate does not constitute...
Since we are yet to really move into thorough investigation, is it too quick to ask certain people to step aside, just like the chief inspector of mines that has been interdicted to ask to step aside, and even the closure of this company, Maxim? I'm starting this stretch with you. Yes. Is it too quick to really put these things in place?
I think we are very fond of, making scapegoats out of people when we are faced with difficulties. And maybe just a slight detour, because we are all still reeling from the, poor performance of the Black Stars. Milo has had to become the scapegoat because people just want to run away from responsibility. And so we find the easy target and then we make the person a scapegoat. I don't have a problem with people being interdicted when things happen to allow investigations to be carried out. But because of history, I have come to realize that some of these interdictions sometimes are meant to just silence all of us. So we go to sleep assuming that something is going to be done. But in the end, sometimes people go interdiction and they are forgotten of.
Yes.
The investigations are not even done and they have to fight to come back to work. And nothing really happens because the interdiction may have just been to calm nerves and create the impression that something was being done, to correct the situation. So if the purpose of the interdiction is actually to ensure that the people involved do not interfere with a proper investigation that has to be carried out, I have no problem with it. And I don't think it is too early. But if the purpose of the interdiction is just to play to the gallery, like it has happened many times, and to create the impression that some thorough investigation is being done so we can go to sleep, then I find it quite unfortunate. So it is my hope that these interdictions and the suspension of licenses will lead to proper reforms. Proper reforms after the investigation. But if after these interdictions and the suspension of licenses, the people interdicted are called back and the licenses are, renewed for the companies to continue operating in the negligent manner, in my view, that they have operated over the years, then what would we have achieved as a people? It will be quite disappointing. And on the responsibility of these companies, let us not forget that we have history to guide us. You remember Cosmos Energy?
Yeah.
When there was oil spillage, about 3 times that it occurred. Investigations were carried out. Cosmos was sanctioned because they were found to have been negligent in 2 of the spills. And they were made to pay huge sums of money that was used to support the communities that were affected. I mean, so we have the capacity to do it. And that is why, your announcement is quite curious. That they're already clearing debris for construction, reconstruction of the area to take place. Again, at whose costs? And I think that those are, in my view, actions that are too early in the day. Just like that.
But people they must start their normal lives.
Yes, they must. But
because they can't wait. They can't wait for that long for that investigation to be completed. But it must not be at the expense of the proper things being done. Because these companies that were involved, in my view, must. And you see, these companies have very, very good lawyers. They pay a lot to hire very, very good lawyers. And so, by your actions, you can even begin to lose your cases against them even before you file. By the actions you take now, they can use those as justifications to, find technicalities that will free them of any responsibility towards the people and the community in the future. And so we have to be very careful. I listened to a gentleman from the State Housing Company who was involved in taking down names of house owners. And when the journalist asked a pointed question, when will the construction start? He was all over the place. He was all over the place. Yet you have, the political leaders speaking as if the construction is starting like you have just announced. So now you understand Theophilus
a
when
week
he says that politicians.
It does not mean, you see, even professionals have their bad ways.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you should not involve, go and look at the Auditor General's report. Go and look at the Auditor General. Who people are mostly cited for the misapplication of funds and others? Is it not the so-called professionals? They also have their bad sides. But it does not mean you don't need them. So what I'm saying is that you just need to check those bad sides. So you have to check those political pronouncements that will not help, in the process of rehabilitating the people and rebuilding the community.
Okay. Phil, same question. Whether we're just jumping too quick. I mean, interdicting certain people, closure of this company, revoking their license and all that.
Yes, I indicated on a number of platforms, both local and international, that it was a knee-jerk reaction. Okay. I don't think it was needed, as my senior has just politician has just said. It's yeah, well, it's a knee-jerk reaction that he indicated that if it is to cover up for somebody, somebody is just to carry the can at this stage. If we are to interdict somebody in the aftermath of the explosion, as he indicated in his introduction, it should have been 2 ministers.
2 ministers?
Yes.
Okay.
A minister noticed something that happened that was not being done properly by
in
Maxam.
2017.
Yeah. And now we have 4 years down the line, an accident has occurred. In other jurisdictions, the minister would have gone. Right. Now, we are talking about, I mentioned earlier that we have inspectors of mines. He is just chief inspector of mines.
Yes.
The law even makes it that he will call people for inquiries into accidents. Now, if you take the chief inspector of mines out, a deputy will move up. It's also a chief inspector of mines. And the people report to the same person. But we are looking at, again, let me use the word professional. I know he has stretched it. We are looking at, we are looking at professionals in the field now.
Yeah.
not professional generally.
Okay.
Yes, I agree. I mean, Parliament has very good professionals. Yes, when he was professional, he was one of the best in his professional field. I agree. But the professionals there are doing thorough work. For example, between Thursday night and Saturday morning, some were literally sleeping there. Now, the company at Bogosu, there's a mining company at Bogosu, they have managed to create diversion. So there's some sort of road network where the cars, the vehicles are moving on. So I agree with him again that that is a sin we shouldn't have tampered with and allow proper pictures to be taken, the inspectors of mines to go and look at what is on the ground. I had a call from somebody in South Africa, a network, and they were asking, people were walking all over the place. Have the explosives all bent out? What of the residue of the explosives? We have allowed that. We have not cordoned off the place for proper investigation to be done. And if tomorrow somebody is in the dock and they tell him that, look, what pictures you are showing here, somebody had been there and had tampered with it. It's not the right picture you are showing here. The person will be justified to ask that question. So back to the suspension. I think the interdiction was too quick. It was a knee-jerk reaction. Number two, it was only 3 days ago we know that Maxam subcontracted Josidec to carry out explosives. Yes. Now, so they suspended the license of Maxam. Is it to produce, to transport, or which one, or to store? Now, if it is
that Maxam supplies a lot of these mining companies with explosives.
I'm coming to
about
that.
6 of them.
I'm coming to that.
This is my next line of questioning.
So those mining companies cannot just work. It is not like cocoa, where this cocoa seller has not come today. I'm going to cocoa seller B.
Exactly.
So they cannot just walk into another explosives provider to say, give us explosives. Yeah. Then those who have drilled their holes, those who are going to blast, according to the product being supplied by Maxam, will have to change their mining plans.
Which was their concern, actually, 6 companies.
Yes.
I mean, it's going to affect their productivity.
Exactly. That, if it affects their productivity, it will affect the employees they have. Yeah. And it will affect revenue. And it will affect us as a nation. I'm not downplaying the lives lost. Now, there are other key industry players, Chamber of Mines. I believe maybe the explosive producers also have their own association. So have they been consulted? It was an overnight decision just to suspend. Now, you are suspending them when they have maybe blasting to take place at 12 o'clock the following morning. That won't happen. Those for the others. And you see, sometimes they might have done what is known as sleeper blasting. They might have already primed or added some explosives to some of the holes and waiting for something else to add to explode. What is happening? What's going to happen to all those that they have partly charged? So the suspension of the license of Maxam immediately, to me, is also needless at this stage. There should have been thorough consultation. Then again, you know, we don't produce a lot of the explosives internally. We import some of them. Now, somebody asked me yesterday if they were just transporting AMFO, which is ammonium nitrate and fuel oil. They just mix it. Why couldn't they have gone to the site, the mining site, and mix it there? Yes. When I was with African Explosives and we were supplying Anglo Gold, Ashanti, we had a mixing plant on site, and we were doing it. So these are some of the things that the investigations will recommend to be done.
Some of the reforms that
the minister says that they suspended the license of Maxam because it will be unfair on Ghanaians if similar things, let's say, should happen tomorrow morning. There are other explosive companies around. If it happens to another one tomorrow morning, we suspend that one. And it happens the next day, we suspend that one.
What would have been the best decision?
Look, the law we have as it is very thorough. Of course, there are gaps. Let us enforce it. The implementation, there are people who are responsible for administration and implementation of the regulation. Let us enforce it to the latter. With what has happened, I believe that all other companies will say, let us do a thorough audit and ask ourselves, are we doing the right thing? So let us check on those ones and get the right thing done properly. That is the best way to go. Now, assuming Maxam is in the middle of production of some sort, and their license has been suspended, do they stop immediately or they hold on to that? If they hold on to that and it becomes another source of hazard or risk and something waiting to explode again, where are we? That is where, again, my assertion about the professionals in the field
Okay.
comes in. I believe that the minister will take advice.
You're a mining engineer, you're a lawyer too. I mean, you've worked with some of these big mining companies. So in a situation like this, that there is an explosion involving a company like Maxam, and the minister wants you to advise him, what would you tell the minister to do? Just within that short period, before any investigation even starts.
The first thing is that let us quickly get the documentations Maxam had of the processes they were undertaking. Number two, let us carry out a proper audit quickly, do a risk assessment of their production, their transportation, and their storage. The ones that can be corrected immediately should be corrected. If they need assistance, we should do that. That is one of the things about the education, which I was talking about. These companies come into Ghana. Somebody tells them that, let me stretch the argument. When you go here and you want to buy this land, just give 2 bottles of schnapps. They also go in and buy 2 bottles of schnapps. That is how the people are. You to live with them that way. We shouldn't be. So this is the opportunity as well for us to educate the companies that are working within the industry, that broaden your scope of knowledge. Get local expertise in the fields you are, not necessarily those you employ. Seek other assistance. And that will, so my advice to the minister as well would be that after the audit, what can be fixed and quickly corrected, then the company can go on, but under strict supervision. That would be my advice to him.
You wouldn't advise him to revoke the license of the company?
Not immediately. I will not advise him to do that immediately. Look, if you go along that line, you are putting the others too at risk. But as I ask, what if it happens?
It's about 6 companies, including Ghana Manganese Company. That's all get their services. All get their services from.
So it's going to affect. Look, let me also stretch it again. We are looking for money somewhere. I would like to mention that one. We are looking for money somewhere. Maybe you mention it.
Now your politician side.
Yes. then there is money somewhere crying. And we are trying to close the mouth of the money that is crying. So to me, revenue will be affected. So the minister should take that into consideration. Of course, revenue cannot be compared with life lost. Revenue will be affected. They might lay off employees. Of course, currently, Maxam might be forced to lay off their employees. You can't come to work and just smile, chop lunch, and go back home. No, they won't do that. So they will lay off those employees. People who depend on them, they will be affected. Then the mining companies, they will not be. Now they are all running around to do other arrangements. And you see, the explosives are unique to certain companies. Some produce a certain type of explosive, and you feel that will be the one you will use for your activity at your mine. That is why maybe you are not going for company A. Now you have to readjust your mine plan and your drilling pattern and everything to cater for a new supplier. Or you need to import. And all this will take time and will affect all of us. So that is why I feel that the decision by the minister to suspend the license of Maxam was also too quick, too soon.
All right. Now, stretching our conversation further, and I'm going to start my maybe final stretch with you. I'm looking at mining and development in these various communities. We've seen pictures of the community, which is supposed to be a mining area. There are some houses that are mud houses. And I ask myself, this is supposed to be a mining community. It's supposed to be a place where one of the finest natural resources is coming from. Look at the state of such a community in 2022. Recently, the president talked a lot about how these mining companies should have an effect on the community in terms of the developmental state, because same cannot be said when you go to Johannesburg. You see the level there, the development there. What are we still not getting right when it comes to mining and developing these communities to reflect the kind of product that comes from the mining companies?
We are not getting a lot of things right. We all know the problem, but we don't seem to be able to build to get the one that will build the cat. You know, because our mining laws, especially as they relate to contracting, is problematic. It basically gives no responsibility on the mining companies after we take the little taxes that we take from the income that they make. And I think that is an area, you know, if any government wants to see changes, will have to look at. I remember under Professor Mills, a committee was set up to look into those mining contracts. I think Professor Kilakpasoy and others were responsible for it.
Yeah.
They came up with very, very, disturbing findings as to how we are being ripped off as a country by these mining companies. It is only even recently that we have seen some local participation in the industry. For a very long time, these companies even imported their drinking water.
Yeah.
Drinking water. It's only recently that we have seen some local participation because we have tried to, tweak the laws here and there with our local content bill and all that. But we are not really addressing the elephant in the room. I mean, in some cases, we have even had to give some mining companies, favorable arrangements over others. For whatever reason, you can't tell. And worst of it, apart from all these favorable contracts we give them huge tax waivers. Huge tax waivers. Come to Parliament and you see the number of tax waivers the finance minister brings for some of these companies. You wonder, with all the income and the revenue that they are making, expanding production and creating more jobs, that we never really go to verify if those expansions are done because they quote a figure, in the next 5 years we are going to invest $100 million into our operations that will lead to this number of jobs, and so we need these cuts and these reliefs, and we grant. And we don't follow through to even find out if they actually invest the amounts they say they will invest, if they actually expand as they claim they are going to expand, and if they actually created the jobs that they were going to create. So for me, the problem is with the contractual arrangements that we have with these mining companies. Not until that is addressed, I'm sorry, we'll continue to see the sorry state of these mining communities, even as millions of dollars are mined from their communities. I mean, that is what other countries have done.
Sad. I mean,
that is what other countries have done. They make the companies responsible for the transformation of these companies. Recently, and you see, if we got our contracts right, we would be making a lot of saving, even as we get some very essential developments in these communities. Recently, one company, I don't remember the name of the company, one of the mining companies constructed a road, I think a 5-kilometer road or less than that, at a less cost than the state usually does. But I don't know the catch in there, what they were going to get. But these are some of the things that we can begin to think about, including in the contracts that we have with these companies. Look at the timber companies that are, hauling timber from the Western region. And look at the sorry state of the roads in the Western region, for example.
Yes.
And all government sometimes care about is just the little taxes you take from them, rehabilitate the roads, because you don't have the capacity to do them to last more than 5 or 6 years because of the heavy traffic that those roads suffer. After 1 or 2 years of construction, you get the roads deteriorating again. But perhaps if you made it the responsibility of those companies, they would have done the roads to fit the capacity of their vehicles that they use to ply on it. In fact, some of them would have even opted to do trains.
There's a school of
that
thought
we can even benefit from as a country.
There's a school of thought.
So it's all the contracting.
There's a school of thought that says that it shouldn't be the responsibility of these mining companies to develop these communities because they pay taxes, huge amount of money to government and to the state.
Comparatively, it's not huge. The taxes that they pay, comparatively, compared to other countries and compared to the revenue that they make, in my view, is not huge.
But these are taxes that we.
And that is why they are here. No company will continue to stay in Ghana to operate if the conditions are not favorable. No company.
Okay. So, same question concerning mining and development. I mean, we've been mining for years in this country. Sometimes you look at these communities where these minerals come from, and it's a sorry state.
Well, I think we open up mining to attract investors by our laws. So our laws were made such that maybe we'll call it a walk in the park sort of laws, so that we get the investors in. For example, after those who take part in open pit mining, they are to rehabilitate pits or enclose the pit to make sure that persons don't fall into it. They can use bamboo, they can use raffia, they can use anything. We didn't state that use metals, use wire mesh, etc., etc. We made our laws such that we wanted to attract investors. Is it time that we need to readjust, take a second look at the law? Then also, we used to have state gold mining companies. We had Anglo Gold, used to be state one. We had the Konongo one. We had a Prestia one. They all used to be state companies. Then we said they were not running at a profit. We sold them. Then people are using them at a profit. So as a people, we need to look at ourselves as well. That how come we cannot manage our own mines, yet private entities can manage it and make profit out of it. A lot of the mining companies doing the surface mining are just doing big galamsey.
Doing what? Big galamsey?
Yes. Like that. Yes, they are just doing big galamsey. They gather, they wash, they extract. And it's the same thing galamsey, garam, and sell. They do the same thing. How come that as a nation, we cannot do that? It is our problem. Now, a colleague of mine attended a forum one time and said there was somebody from the community. The way the guy was talking, he was afraid the guy will shoot all of them. The guy might have had a gun. It was to discuss a mining license granted to a company within his area where he comes from. And this guy had traveled widely and he's back home. And he was talking. So my colleague said after that, he managed to get a copy of the license that was granted to the company. And he was like, wow, if this guy had killed all of us, it's justified. Because we just gave the lease out for nothing. He said it. What do we get out of the mining companies? Well, taxes and royalties. Now, do we get a percentage of what they mine? No. We used to have 10% in companies. Then they said it is a barrier to investors. We have removed some of those 10%. I mean, if it is a barrier, go. Somebody will take it. Yeah. We even used to have Sankofa that used to go and process tailings of former Prestia gold. And it was profitable. So even if somebody is going to do the tailings and it's profitable, what are the fresh ones that we cannot? Then as a people, we must have consortium of Ghanaians that might also say we are joining together our funds to have a mine and we will operate our mine properly and it will also be big. First time I went to Prestia, I felt sad. Well, and if you go to Takwa right now, yeah, it's a sad state. If you go to Obuasi right now,
yes,
very sad. But go to Joburg,
yes, a different story.
A different story. And they all used to mining operates around those same cities. So I think it's about time we as a people take a step, look at our mining laws, look at ourselves as well, that are we contributing. So mining and development, we will not allow the companies are not here to come and develop us. Then, of course, when they come, they take the chiefs to their bases. If they are U.S. companies, the chiefs fly to U.S. twice a year.
Oh,
the chiefs are
that's what they do?
Yes, they buy cars for the chiefs.
That's what they do?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, if you read, he was talking about the road. It was a queen mother who went to one of the companies, their headquarters, and asked the vice president if you can do the road for me. Okay, and they did it. So if somebody flies you from here to let's say Canada, you feel you own the person forever. You have never even been in an aeroplane from Kumasi to Accra, and you have been.
And they also will just give up their whole community just because they want to.
Exactly. So as a people ourselves, what was done by our ancestors, where they were throwing gold at the white one when he came, we are doing different form now. So it is not, we shouldn't expect anybody to come from their place to come and develop us. No, that will not happen. We as a people should look at that, change our laws, look at ourselves to build consortium to go into mining ourselves. The money will be here.
Okay.
There are some companies, if you are there, every week they use helicopters to cut their bullions. Almost all of them. You think it's not profitable? It is.
It is. Well, looking at the profits or the benefits and the distraction that comes with it, should we still continue mining?
It's a very tough one. It's a very tough one because they even mine in the U.S. Mining is done in the U.S.
Okay. Which company is mining in the U.S.?
Oh, at least I know Newmont mines in the U.S.
Okay.
Yes, I was in Newmont site in the U.S.
Newmont is a company from which country?
From U.S.
Okay.
So mining is done
So
in
there
US.
you get to understand that when mining is done in U.S. by Newmont, everything stays in U.S.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I mean,
But if mining is done in Ghana by a different company, it doesn't stay here.
yes, it doesn't stay here. No,
So-
no, it doesn't stay
Exactly.
here.
So with all this, should we still continue mining?
Yes. So one,
Yes.
I mentioned earlier, I said the background,
Yes.
that we should change our laws
Yes.
to get proper investors.
Yes.
Now, environmental-wise, we should change our laws as well, so that, for example, there is a fund now that companies contribute towards it. When they are able to rehabilitate properly, they take their money back. But it's so small that when the days are coming for them to leave the country, they can tell you, just keep your money. We don't care. Now, but mining is done in Canada. But they don't do it the same way. So, and you remember there was this young man on the social media, Dr. Owusu, who was challenging the president, etc., that we should do mining in sustainable and environmental friendly way. It is because he has seen the ones that are being done in the U.S. So we can equally import those ones. We have the personnel to do it. So yes, I agree that we should continue doing mining.
Okay.
Because if it cannot be grown, it has to be mined.
Okay. Benefit a level of destruction to lands and the human being. Should we still continue mining?
We cannot discontinue mining.
We cannot.
We cannot. Because there's good reason why God bless us with those mineral resources. And they say for lack of wisdom, the fools perish. Is that what the good old book says?
For lack of knowledge, my people perish.
Yes, so we have been blessed by it to use it to solve our problems. So it will be, irresponsible on our part not to take advantage of that blessing.
Have we used it to solve our problems?
But it is more irresponsible that we are using it in a way that it is not solving our problem. That is what we have to address. And for me, it is a multifaceted, a multifaceted approach is what is required. First of all, we need a lot of education of our people to understand what it is that we have and how we can exploit it to our benefit. The local communities are involved, the traditional leaders are involved. They need to embrace the idea of utilizing those resources to our benefit first and foremost. The media should be involved because this education will require the media support. And then we can now also, engage our duty bearers, politicians, the president, the ministers, and others all, to look at the nature of contracts that we enter into with these mining companies. And I say we need the grassroots mobilization and the media first and foremost, because when these duty bearers attempt to shake the status quo, the people involved who have interests will use all means, even sometimes if it involves sponsoring a government out of power. They'll do it.
They'll do it. All right.
They'll blackmail. They will do everything to maintain the status quo because it benefits them. But when the people are conscientized to understand that these decisions are taken in their interest, no media person will go for a press soiree and be told what to say by the mining company. No chief will accept a trip, like Lawyer is saying, to Canada and come and say the minister should not worry the mining company in my area. These are the things we need to address. To address the imbalance that currently exists, where these mining companies tend to make more. And even the workers there, in fact, the Ghanaian workers there sometimes miss the point because of the need to preserve their jobs.
It's about money.
They also will speak as if, you know, the companies are really doing the nation a favor.
Okay.
But when you compare to other countries, you can simply see that they are doing less than their colleagues are doing in other jurisdictions.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time this morning. Grateful joining us, and I've enjoyed talking to you, and we wish you all the best. We'll leave it here, and let's just hope that we can just continue to do the right things for this wonderful country of ours. And our heart still goes out to the people in Apiati and Bogos. So we just hope that they can get back to life normally, and when everything is said and done. This program will be repeated this evening at 11 after a major news bulletin at 10 on GTV. So right after the major news bulletin at 10, 11 o'clock, we'll have a repeat of this program. The program will continue same time next week. My name is George Sapo. I'll see you when I see you. Bye-bye.